Please subscribe and watch my best stories there. The restaurant was alive with laughter that afternoon, not the kind that warms hearts, but the loud, careless kind that cuts like glass. Sunlight streamed through tall windows, scattering across polished glasses and silver cutlery, adding brilliance to a room already drenched in luxury. Waiters glided from table to table, balancing trays with rehearsed precision, while voices rose above the clinking of utensils. But at a quiet corner table, away from the noisy crowd, sat a man who felt entirely out of place. His name was Marcus Hale. His hands, roughened by years of labor, rested awkwardly on the tablecloth. His shirt was clean but plain, and his watch, though polished, bore the marks of age. His tired eyes carried the weight of years spent in the shadows, a man who worked endlessly, yet was noticed by none. Marcus had no idea that at that very moment a cruel prank was unfolding. A trap disguised as kindness, set not to uplift him, but to humiliate him. A group of junior managers had orchestrated it earlier that day, laughing over wine during their lunch break. They told Marcus that someone had noticed him, a woman who admired his kind eyes, his quiet presence, his steady work. They said she wanted to meet him, that she had asked them to arrange a blind date. Marcus hesitated. He was a janitor at Preston and Cole Industries, a man most people looked past as though he were invisible. He cleaned their offices, scrubbed their restrooms, emptied their trash bins, and polished the windows before executives even arrived. Few even remembered his name. Yet, beneath his uniform lived a man who once dreamed of more. He had studied late into the night as a young man, designing blueprints, hoping to one day be an engineer. But life had been unkind. His father's sudden death, unpaid bills, and the crushing need to keep food on the table forced him to abandon those dreams. The mop and bucket replaced the compass and ruler. When the managers insisted that someone admired him, Marcus's heart stirred. His reflection in the mirror often reminded him of loneliness, the lines etched into his face, the calluses on his hands, the youth he had long since lost. Yet the idea that someone might see him differently, that perhaps someone cared, was too powerful to dismiss. Against his better judgment, he agreed to the date. The trap. The restaurant they sent him to was elegant, far beyond Marcus's usual world. Its air smelled faintly of roses and fresh bread, the kind of place where laughter seemed purchased alongside the wine. He arrived in his best shirt, pressed carefully the night before, and wore his father's old watch, the one thing he owned with sentimental worth. He took his seat nervously, shifting with each passing minute. Across the room, the junior managers watched, stifling snickers as they recorded on their phones. They were expecting a scene, a punchline. Then the unexpected happened. She walked in. Evelyn Carrington, CEO of Preston and Cole Industries. The CEO's choice. She entered not with arrogance, but with quiet confidence. Her navy dress was simple yet elegant. Her posture radiated composure, her steps unhurried, her gaze steady. The room fell silent as her presence commanded attention. Marcus froze when she approached his table. Surely this was a mistake. Why would the CEO of the very company he cleaned for be here, walking toward him? But Evelyn knew exactly where she was going. Only minutes earlier, she had overheard the junior managers bragging about their cruel joke. She had listened to their laughter as they plotted to make Marcus the center of ridicule. And in that moment, something within her stirred, memories of her childhood, memories of her mother working endless hours as a housekeeper, enduring the same kind of belittlement. Evelyn had grown up watching her mother's quiet strength, her sacrifices unnoticed by those she served. So when she saw Marcus sitting alone, waiting anxiously, Evelyn made her choice. She could have turned away, ignored the cruelty, and let the prank unfold. But instead, she walked straight to his table. The smug grins of the junior managers faltered as they realized what was happening. A conversation that changed everything. Marcus stammered when she sat down. Are you really here for me? Evelyn smiled gently. Yes, Marcus. I am. Her words rang through the room, silencing the last remnants of laughter. The air shifted, heavy with tension and shame. What followed was not a performance, not a staged act of pity. Evelyn spoke to Marcus as an equal. She spoke about dignity, about the value of work unseen, about how society judged worth by titles and possessions while forgetting that the world was built on the hands of those who labored quietly in the background. She told Marcus that she admired his strength, his humility, and his courage to show up every day even when life gave him little in return. She told him that invisibility did not mean insignificance. Every word pierced Marcus's heart. For years, he had endured the sting of being overlooked, mocked, or dismissed. He had swallowed his loneliness in silence. Now, for the first time in decades, someone of power not only acknowledged his existence but honored it. Tears welled in his eyes. He tried to speak, but emotion stole his voice. Around them, the restaurant sat in stunned quiet. The junior managers shifted uncomfortably, their wine glasses untouched. Their prank had collapsed, leaving them exposed in their cruelty. Some lowered their eyes, ashamed. The aftermath. By the end of the meal, no one in the room was left unmoved. Marcus rose from his seat not as the butt of a cruel joke, but as a man whose dignity had been restored. Evelyn had not simply defended him, she had elevated him, reminding everyone that humanity is defined not by wealth or power, but by compassion. The story spread quickly through the halls of Preston and Cole. By Monday morning, whispers filled the office. Everyone knew what the CEO had done. Executives who once ignored Marcus greeted him differently. Some apologized, others nodded with newfound respect. For the first time in years, Marcus felt seen. Evelyn, too, carried that afternoon with her. She had not only confronted cruelty but transformed it into a lesson. She showed her employees that titles meant nothing if compassion was absent, and that leadership was not measured by profits but by the lives one chose to uplift. A lesson for all. The prank meant to humiliate Marcus became the turning point of his life. He never forgot the moment when kindness broke through the walls of humiliation. Evelyn never forgot, either, because in his eyes she saw her mother's strength, and in her actions she fulfilled the vow she had made long ago, never to let another person feel invisible in her presence. And so the story of a janitor and a CEO lived on, not as a cruel joke, but as a timeless reminder. The worth of a person is never measured by their job title, their income, or the clothes they wear. True worth lies in resilience, in humility, and in the compassion of those who choose to see beyond the surface.